Right now, we're trying to figure out with your help, not what's wrong with the Warriors. That's pretty easy to identify, isn't it? But how do they fix things? I think Klay Thompson, Ray, is a great example of how complex these issues are, because Klay is forcing shots. He's forcing shots. He's taking more shots than he's ever taken, more threes than he's ever taken, and he's missing more threes. So that's not good. So a lot of people look at it and go, well, there you go. Then Poole starts. Poole plays better as a starter. But then Klay still has to play, right? Klay still has to play even if you don't start him. So what really, starting Poole and then Klay, the thing is Klay has to play better. It just, these solutions here, my point is, there are no simple, easy solutions. Here's Steph on Klay finding the balance between finding his shot again and not rushing things.
It's a tough balance of trusting him to do exactly what he is capable of doing, what we know he's capable of doing, being himself in the sense of Klay Thompson's shots have always been, ones that you wouldn't tell anybody else to really take because of his skill set and the work that he puts in. And he's had, slow starts before in seasons, but the biggest thing is, again, I tell JP this, tell Klay this, tell myself this, like, you have to let the game come to you. Especially when teams know if you start get going, like, we're tough to beat, and they're probably going to have the heightened sense of awareness early in games, early in quarters when you're out there to try to take it away because they're afraid of what Pete Klay looks like. So just let the game come to you. Have some a little bit of patience and trust in how we play as a team and creating good shots. His presence out there changes the game just with his 2 feet on the floor. He requires a lot of attention no matter what the numbers look like. So it's going to come. Just trust it.
It's startling, Ray, the way, as you mentioned earlier, the way you've got some of Klay's teammates, Draymond last night, just shoulders slumped when Klay quick shoots them out of a possession. And I don't know, there was a shot on the bench when players, who knows what they were reacting to, but Klay at the end of the game, as I said, or he's like, all right, we've got a few minutes left here, give me the ball, I'm going to dribble down and shoot. I gotta find it, put a few more points next to my name in the box score. That's embarrassing.
It's not that he's looking for something in the box score. He's trying to recreate the feel of what it's like to be an elite shooter. And every time a guy goes into a shooting slump, the old saw is, well, you're just going to have to shoot your way out of it. No. This is proof that that's not the only way to do it. Sometimes you discipline yourself. Say, I am not going to take the first shot I can see. I mean, Steve Kerr preaches that to his team endlessly. So don't be in a hurry. That shot might look good, but later on in the possession, there'll be one that's better. And if it's not yours, it'll be yours next time. Klay Thompson is trying to punch his way out of this slump with volume. And A, it's not working. B, it rarely works with guys who say, I'm not shooting well, I'll shoot more.
I would say
you have to reorient your idea of what a good shot is and reorient your idea of how do I get out of my problem.
I would add to your list. I agree with your list. C, it's hurting the team. When Klay is taking quick shots when he's not shooting well, and you have Steph, who last night made 7 of 11. Klay, hello. We don't want you when you're not shooting well, rushing shots, especially when we have the greatest shooter of all time having a good night. So that's where it gets complicated. Like you said, hey, the offense is fine. The defense is where they're struggling. But then you look at, offensively, there are issues, too, that make it harder for the defense, for them to find traction defensively. 888, yeah,
but
go ahead.
119 ought to be enough. The problem, though, it's not just that Klay Thompson's not shooting well. You've got guys doing the passive-aggressive, thing. I mean, like Jordan Poole going for 36 one night, and then the next night just taking 5 shots.
Yeah, I know people are saying that. That's interesting.
It seems like it's arguing the complete opposite of what we're arguing with Thompson. But there is also the kind of game awareness that requires that when a guy next to you is struggling, make yourself available for a pass and maybe give him the pass back, is maybe they need to play together and find their way as a unit, like just a mini unit within the team, because I think there is sort of this weird undercurrent, and I can't put my finger on why, and I'm not even sure I could put my finger on whether this is factual or not. But I think for the first time in the Kerr era, there are guys who think that your success means my failure, or your shot means I don't get one.
Sure looks that way.
And I think that the only way to fix that is not to replace one for another. It's to reorient everybody involved in rethinking the problem.
Another way in which that gets more complicated, and I have to double check this, but yesterday we were talking about combinations on the floor, and I think I'll look this up again. Klay and Jordan Poole together, they haven't played well together. When they're together on the floor, the Warriors haven't been very effective. So that's another thing that complicates it. 888-957-9570. Aaron's in Concord on 95.7 The Game. What's your solution to this mess, Aaron?
Hey guys, what's up?
Hey.
Thank you for taking my phone call. I really appreciate your show, taking phone calls like this. Hey, so I'm going to make a quick statement, and then I'm going to ask you guys a question. My first statement is going to be, when it comes to Dre and everything that happened with him prior to the season starting, and again, I'm not condoning what he did to Poole as the right thing. Let's make that clear. Punching somebody is not a good thing to do. But all of us need to realize whatever happened that day at that moment might not even deal with basketball. There might have been something said under the breath or whatever it is, but it doesn't matter. That's between Dre and Poole, and what happened. But I really do think that one incident is messing with Dre. I think he is being held back right now, either internally or from management. And I don't think Dre is Dre. I think there's something there. And with that said, my question now is there another veteran presence either on the bench, Iguodala, or is there a veteran out there that the Warriors can get to bring in that can be that Dre kind of person for this team? Because Dre has always been that guy out there pushing defense. And I've seen him break down on defense, especially that inbounds play the other night. That was horrible. And that was kind of on Dre.
Thank you, Aaron. Yeah, appreciate the call. There isn't anyone. I mean, Iguodala, you're right. You're obviously a true Warrior fan, and you recognize Iguodala's special role on that team. If he ever plays, I don't think you could go out and get anyone, Ray, anyone else on the roster or anyone outside the roster who would have the institutional knowledge that Draymond gives you when he's at his best. It does appear right now that maybe to say he's got 1 foot out the door would be unfair and probably an exaggeration, but it does look like he recognizes, all right, my time here is coming to an end. And so if he's split and thinking in his mind, thinking, I want us to win, but I'm also planning for what I'm going to do next year, that could be contributing to the problem. My guess is the punch was more a symptom of things that were going on than the cause of any problems. Just like when he got into it with Durant, and I know not everyone agrees, I thought to me that was just a symptom of what was going on with the team and Durant. It wasn't Durant was going to leave, and that's why Draymond yelled at him. It wasn't a matter of Draymond yelled at him, and that's why Durant decided to leave. That's, I think, a similar dynamics at work here. But who knows?
No, I think you're right about that, is that the stuff we see is the equivalent of the second punch in a hockey fight.
Yeah, well said.
We're not seeing the start of something. We're seeing the end of it. Or in this case, the advertisement of it. But it's the fact that last night was troubling because you saw them getting frustrated in a way that didn't suggest that they were ready to tackle the problem. It was like, this again. I mean, that's what teams that lose do. It's just, that happened again. We can't do anything about it. We're just screwed. They looked defeated at a number of points during the game. And it wasn't that Phoenix particularly played well. I mean, they shot well because they got nothing but open looks. They only had one guy who didn't shoot 50% last night. It's that the Warriors didn't make it hard for them because the Warriors were too busy making it hard for each other. It's just, this is about to happen. Great. That's, I think that it's the kind of thing you see from a veteran team that's losing. You don't see it from young guys. Young guys go, give me the ball again. I'll do the same stupid thing I did on the last possession because it's fun. It's just they all know why this is breaking down, and they're not doing anything about it. That's the thing. It's not that they don't know. It's that they do know, but they're not willing to change their behavior to end it.
I'll ask Steve Kerr about this. There's, I think, a disconnect between the young players who want to play more but aren't playing well enough to play more, and the veterans who've said publicly, they've stated publicly, we would rather play with veterans. We don't think we can win with the young guys. And I think there's a divide there. And I think that has something to do with all of this too. 888-957-9570. And as far as Poole, if he actually is being passive aggressive, I'm not going to shoot. I'm coming off the bench. I'm not going to shoot. Then I'm getting rid of him as soon as I can. If I have any reason to suspect that. And I know he just signed a new deal, so he's really hard to trade now because, But I'm not interested in him if that's really what's going on. That's why I have such a hard time believing it's that simple. You may be right, but that would be just flabbergasting because he signed a contract to stay here.
Contracts are irrelevant in this discussion.
But if he didn't like it, he didn't have to sign up for this.
No, but he thought this was his ticket to become the new alpha male. And that's not going to happen as long as Stephen Curry is playing. And that's another 3 years after.
You think his issue is with... I think if he has an issue...
No, it's not his
Klay.
issue with Curry. It's he wants to be thought of as the center of this franchise. And he knows at some point that will happen. But it's going to happen way too slowly for his satisfaction.
Appreciate your patience. A lot of people calling. We'll get to as many as we can here on the Xfinity Mobile text line.
We don't have to get to as many.
I'm interested to find out. I'm out of ideas. Duke in San Francisco, 95.7 The Game. I'm out of ideas. Duke, what's your fix?
OG, Kevin, Michael, Whitey Gleason, and my boy, the legendary Ray Ratto. Hey, I just want to know one thing, Whitey. Make sure Ray mind himself. Damon told me to tell you to make sure that Ray mind himself. Ray, I've been listening to you the last couple of days, Ray. You've been kind of, Whitey, don't let Ray take you down his dark foxhole, okay?
I ain't going there. I appreciate it. Good advice.
What I'm talking about,
Yeah,
Whitey.
Thanks for your call. See you next time.
Everybody, would you say, Ray?
Thanks for your call. See you next time.
Ray tried to cut you off, but I'll give you the floor is still yours.
Yeah, we ain't doing that, Ray. 554, baby. Hey, everybody trying to play Dr. Ben Swayze. Look, Klay is going through some things right now. Maybe it's Rocco. Maybe it's Rocco's dog food, man. Change the dog food. But maybe playing with the second unit is not going to help Klay playing with a group of players that have yet to learn how to play in the NBA at that high level themselves. You keep Klay playing with the starters, but like Ray just alluded to, those jacking up threes and doing all that is not going to help the Warriors. What the Warriors' problem is transition defense. Giving up 30 points a quarter is not going to help when you're playing against these young, savvy NBA teams. You got to get more defensive rebounds, more offensive rebounds. Back in the day when we won those championships, the Warriors' trademark was their defense. There is no defense right now. Coach Kerr alluded to another thing. After you win a championship, everybody is going for you. Everybody is gunning for the Warriors. Even the lowest teams on the totem pole are going for the Warriors. So this fix is going to come in-house. There will be no trades. Maybe by trade deadline, if we still got the same thing going on, then I maybe would suggest a trade. But for right now, you just have to go with what you got. And for Jordan Poole, he's still a 22-year-old young budding star, still trying to find his way in the game, too. So we got to have a little patience, you guys. This whole steadfast, and we know Steph is the alpha of all dogs, is going to try to keep this together. So, man, I love y'all. Ray, Whitey, man, y'all have a blessed day.
Thank you, Duke. Appreciate that. Yeah, it's even worse than that. I mean, Steve Kerr talked about it last night. Not only teams are, they're up for us. Steve Kerr says, given what we've done to other teams, they're really relishing this opportunity. Before I get to that, to Duke's point about the Warriors and defense, it was Doc Rivers who said, the Warriors, this is years ago, he said, the Warriors show you their offense, but they beat you with their defense. And that's why right down the road, they ain't beating anybody. And Steve Kerr says other teams that we beat in the past, they're enjoying this.
Share the ball. If somebody's open, throw it to them. If somebody helps on a rotation, crack back and block out the big guy. If things aren't going well, somebody call the group into the foul line, get everybody together and motivate the group. All that stuff is missing right now. I saw a lot of hanging heads tonight. I think we're feeling sorry for ourselves, and nobody's going to feel sorry for us. So everyone can't wait to play us and kick our ass. We've had a lot of success and a lot of fun, a lot of joy, beating people over the years. And teams don't forget that. So they're having their fun now, as they should. I've always felt the game rewards you if you commit to the game. If you really compete together, shots go in, calls go your way, breaks fall your way. And we're not earning any of that stuff. That's why we're winless on the road. It's a pickup game.
Ray, do you remember Tiger Woods when he was at the top of his game?
No, never heard of him.
When he was at the top of his game, how intimidating he was. And then one day, I think he lost the PGA to Yang, and it was like, what happened? He's not invincible anymore. Mike Tyson, people were terrified of him, and then something happened, and Buster Douglas, and it's like, wow, that's gone. Right now, that's where the Warriors are. That invincibility, that aura, whatever it is, that intimidation factor. Other teams are not feeling that way at all. They are relishing the chance to play them and beat them, especially because they know that these guys can't stop us. Now, last night it wasn't a factor because the Warriors were pretty much behind the whole night. But we saw this on the road trip against a team like Orlando. They got behind, but they knew, it's all right, these guys can't defend. We can get back in the game. So whatever that is, I know you're fond of using the term mojo, the Warriors mojo. No, that's one of yours. It's gone.
I've never said the word. I've never said that, ever.
The Warriors, whatever
ever.
it is.
I've never said
whatever you want
I'm
to call
not
it,
letting
Ray.
you talk anymore until you back off of that one.
Maybe someone else said that. Maybe it wasn't you. But whatever you want to call it, right now, it's gone.
No, yeah, well, they don't believe in themselves. It's not about what the other team is doing. This is entirely an internal problem. They're not running into, oh my God, these guys are so much younger and more athletic. They were playing guys like that last year, and 3 years ago. This is not about what the other teams are doing, except that they're making wide open shots. The Warriors are gifting them. This is about the Warriors. This is entirely an internal matter.
But because the Warriors are in disarray, other teams are playing them with a lot more confidence.
Well, when you
And
get
it doesn't
nothing,
make it any easier.
But when you get nothing but open shots against anybody, you're going to be confident. I mean, that's why the Warrior thing began so weirdly. It's because they don't have an excuse for playing bad defense.
I think Klay needs to get traded so he can play against the Warriors so he can find a shot again against that shoddy defense.
Yeah, I think you should go with that. 1-800-CALL Whitey at home. Between the hours of 1 and 4 a.m.
It won't work with the contracts.
Yeah, no, it's just, I think the thing is they came out this season forgetting the defense is what powers them. And then it became a bunch of internal, well, I'll just shoot our way out of it. And then it became, well, but if you shoot us out of it and you're 5 for 15, how are you helping us? And now they're turning on each other in a lot of like weird, subtle ways. And that's why I think ultimately this is going to end up being Curry's problem.
Now, I'm surprised to hear you say that, and you may be 100% right, but you normally don't normally take a leap like that. And I'm not saying you're wrong. No. It's because you normally are like, I don't know what's going on in there. But their problems right now are so noticeable that even you have to look at it and go, yeah, I think they're kind of subtly taking shots at each other.
Well,
I'm not
no,
criticizing you. I'm saying for you to say that, it must be bad.
Because you see it. That's the thing. It's just, I don't guess as to what they might be thinking. But when you see it, and when the head coach alludes to it.
Can you guess what color I'm thinking of right now?
Black.
No, green. Go ahead. Wrong.
Yeah, because I was thinking of your funeral. No, I think what Steve Kerr's alluding to it. I mean, he's telling you that these guys don't believe in each other right now. And to a certain extent, some of them don't believe in themselves. Some of them don't believe in the coaching staff. This is a team that is showing signs of doing what we all laugh at the Lakers for doing, which is having no regard for each other.
On the text line here, Ray, from the 707, the seat of all knowledge and wisdom, why isn't anyone talking about Mike Brown and maybe the influence that he had on the defense? Kings are playing well. Their defense is bad. And Mike Brown inherited, when he came here, a great defense, which really was a Ron Adams defense. Mike Brown's doing a really good job. And he's a good coach, but I'm not willing to say that's part of the problem.
No, this is not a coaching issue.
It's a good question, but I think the answer is I don't think
The
that's
truth
it.
is, they've been a better than average defensive team for about a decade now. And that goes back to Mark Jackson, who was the first guy who made them play defense.
Boy, he seemed like he was enjoying that last night, in my opinion. 888.
So?
Yeah?
Why wouldn't he? Good for him.
888-957-9570. Let's go to Brad in Santa Cruz. Brad, any James Wiseman sightings in town?
Yeah, I'm going to go see him tomorrow night.
Nice.
But, I don't know what the fix is for the Warriors, but the problem, it all goes back to the Draymond punch. He's been the fire. He's been the enforcer. And since the punch, you got the old guard and the new kids, and he's been neutered, and he's no longer effective at holding people accountable for not playing defense.
Thank you, Brad. Interesting theory. I mean, Draymond has been a team leader, the defensive backbone, kind of like the Bob Sanders of the Warrior defense. And if he's lost any of his sway, then that would not make it any easier for them to play better team defense. But this is what's alarming to me. We know the Warrior culture is about, strength in numbers, all pulling together. Defense, to me, is the most selfless thing you can do when you play basketball, because the team benefits, and there's not necessarily, there's steal stats, but it doesn't necessarily show up in the box score. So if you have a team that plays defense hard, you know that they're totally bought into the coach, to each other. They want to win. And the Warriors are not playing good defense right now. Some of that's because they don't have as skilled, their defenders are not as skilled. But the other part of it is they're not all as a unit. Steve Kerr says it, buying in. They're not connected. And that's very troubling for this team right now.
Yeah, the veterans have no right not to buy in because they know better. And the young players have no right not to buy in because that's what they inherited. And I am not willing to believe that Draymond Green's inability to lecture people about how to play defense is the result of the punch. I mean, I think what the Warriors may have drafted are a bunch of guys who believe that basketball is an offense-only pursuit. I mean, I don't know how to explain Moody at all because he was a guy who gave a better effort defensively. But Kuminga has not figured out what they want him to do. Weissman is down in Santa Cruz for the same reason. Poole doesn't defend much. JaMychal Green's been a cipher. There is a whole swath of this team that has not bought into the defensive end of the equation at all. And because of that, you've got two teams playing two different ways. And that can't endure.